Hey, you're here. That's good. Let me tell you something that whispers across millennia. A tale of ancient gods and human experience, unfolding under patient, watchful eyes. Tonight, we invite you to drift softly into a world where faith and intricate rituals shaped every facet of life and transcended death in ancient Egypt. This journey is designed for reflective historical exploration. As night deepens and your thoughts settle, journey through time, to a place where the sun rose and set under divine vigilance, where the sacred was existence itself. Imagine the mighty Nile, a living god, its annual inundation governing life's rhythm. Picture the sun, Ra, cycling through birth, life, and rebirth. This was a civilization steeped in the sacred. Every sunrise, every harvest, every breath understood through a deep spiritual lens. The divine wasn't distant. It was the subtle hum of existence. We'll explore afterlife dreams, curious animal deities, monumental structures, and subtle magic. Glimpse a people whose enduring wisdom still holds gentle, timeless lessons. If this journey resonates with you, consider liking this video and subscribing for more deep and tranquil explorations. Now, prepare for what comes next. In the heart of ancient Egypt, belief wasn't abstract. It was the very landscape, breathing and living. For this remarkable civilization, the cosmos was an intimate stage where two colossal, divine forces orchestrated existence. The life-giving Nile and the eternal sun. Imagine a world where your river was a palpable deity, happy, whose annual moods dictated life and death, prosperity or famine. It was rather like having a single, enormous, yet essential, garden hose that decided, somewhat capriciously, if your entire year's crop would flourish or fail, or where the fiery orb in the sky was not just a star, but Ra himself, the supreme creator, battling chaos each night to be reborn with the dawn. These weren't metaphors, these were living truths. For the Egyptians, the Nile's annual inundation was a supreme miracle, a divine act. It was both terrifyingly powerful and utterly essential, the pivot of their civilization. Too much water, and mud brick homes dissolved. Too little, and famine stalked the sun-baked lands. One can only imagine the ancient Egyptian version of a home insurance claim, trying to explain to a scribe that Happy had been particularly enthusiastic this year. It was a perpetual gamble, a divine lottery where the prize was life itself. Their understanding wasn't scientific, but rooted in reverence, ritual, and millennia of observation. They read the river's signs, recognizing subtle shifts. The land they cherished, Kemet, the Black Land, was the sacred gift of the Nile's dark, rich silt, a stark contrast to Deshret, the Red Land, the vast, unforgiving desert. This duality of life and death, fertility and barrenness, was deeply ingrained in their beliefs, a quiet, constant presence, like the river's whisper. You can visualize them, standing on the banks, gazing at the rising waters, a potent blend of awe, hope, and pragmatic anxiety. Their lives were a perpetual negotiation with this divine force, a humbling acceptance of nature's ultimate power. It truly puts our modern worries, like a delayed train, into a profoundly different and almost humorous perspective, doesn't it? Their very survival depended on a divine whim. But the Nile was only half their cosmic equation. Equally central, and perhaps more universally worshipped, was the sun. From dawn's ascent to fiery descent, the sun was seen as the primary source of all light, life, and order, a manifestation of the supreme god Ra. Ra wasn't distant. He was the cosmic life-giver, the creator, who navigated the dangerous underworld each night in his solar barge, battling chaos, like the serpent Apep, who probably had a rather terrible morning breath, to be reborn each dawn. This daily cycle of death and resurrection was the ultimate proof of continuity, of order triumphing over darkness. It was a grand cosmic drama playing out above their heads. reinforcing beliefs in eternal return. This wasn't just metaphor. They believed the Pharaoh joined Ra on this perilous solar barge, actively helping ensure the sun's continued journey for all Egypt. Talk about a tough commute. The profound interplay between the predictable Nile and the cyclical sun formed the absolute bedrock of the ancient Egyptian worldview. Together, these forces created a universe built on duality and balance, black land and red land, life and death, day and night, order, ma'at, and chaos, isfit. Their entire belief system, every ritual, every prayer, every monument, was fundamentally an effort to maintain this delicate balance, to support the gods in their daily struggle, and to ensure the continuous flow of existence, both in this world and the next. This foundational understanding provided a deep, unshakable sense of security and purpose. They knew their place within a divinely ordered cosmos, constantly interacting with these powerful forces. It's a serene thought, isn't it? That even as the world shifted, the sun would always rise, and the Nile would always flood, guaranteeing the eternal cycle, a promise whispered across millennia, inviting us to find our own quiet peace in the vast, dependable rhythms of the natural world. This understanding of Nile and sun as dynamic, living deities colors every other aspect of ancient Egyptian belief. Moving quietly into the bustling, yet serene, spiritual landscape of ancient Egypt, we encounter a pantheon of gods that were, frankly, quite a lively and often bewildering bunch. Unlike some more abstract, distant deities, Egyptian gods were deeply, intimately, and tangibly entwined with the natural world. They often appeared with animal heads atop human bodies, or purely as animals, embodying the essence of a creature. This wasn't whimsical. It reflected their core belief that divine power permeated all life, found in a lion's roar, a falcon's flight, or a beetle scuttling. Their deities were immanent, making the mundane sacred and the natural divine, a truly immersive spiritual experience that probably didn't involve much scrolling through divine social media feeds. Consider Bastet, the graceful cat goddess. She wasn't simply a divine cat. She embodied fertility, protection, and boundless joy. Cats were revered as living manifestations of her presence, enjoying privileged lives. Killing a cat, even accidentally, could result in a death sentence, a stark reminder of the respect and fear these seemingly innocuous creatures commanded. This led to vast catacombs filled with thousands of meticulously mummified cats, buried as offerings. It makes you wonder how the daily life with a god routine went down. Perhaps their pet ownership involved deep spiritual reverence, a lot more caution, and certainly no thought of cat videos. Just quiet, respectful admiration, and maybe a few offerings of fish. Then there was Sobek, the formidable crocodile god, lord of waters and fertility, but also prone to snapping outbursts, much like his reptilian counterparts. He was a god of both creation and destruction, embodying the Nile's unpredictable dual nature. Egyptians, practical and respectful of raw power, even tamed living crocodiles within certain temple precincts, adorning them with jewels. These weren't just pets, they were living idols, powerful conduits to a deity. It's a striking image, priests carefully tending jeweled crocodiles, navigating the fine line between devotion and sheer terror, perhaps occasionally wondering if their insurance covered divine reptilian temper tantrums. This interconnectedness of gods and beasts suggests a profound respect for nature, an understanding that humanity was but one thread in creation's tapestry. It's a charming thought, isn't it? That even the humble scarab beetle, Khepri, diligently pushing its dung ball, could represent the mighty sun, tirelessly rolling across the sky, undergoing its own rebirth. Scarab amulets were common protective charms, placed over the deceased's heart. This humble creature symbolized resurrection, a reminder that divinity can be found in unexpected, even slightly unsavory, places. Beyond the well-known, Other creatures held immense symbolic and religious significance. The majestic falcon embodied Horus, the sky god, symbolizing kingship and divine protection. The pharaoh was considered the living Horus, making the falcon inseparable from royal power. The graceful ibis was sacred to Thoth, god of wisdom, writing, and magic. These birds, often mummified, symbolized meticulous record-keeping and knowledge. They believed Thoth invented writing, and the ibis was his perfect avatar, a living library of divine knowledge, probably making sure all the other gods submitted their papyrus reports on time. Even animals we might consider mundane, like the hippopotamus, held complex meanings. While often chaotic, the female hippo, Taret, was a benevolent goddess of childbirth, a fierce protector. Her formidable appearance deterred evil spirits. The snake had a dualistic nature, dangerous, yet a symbol of protection, uraeus, and regeneration. These weren't simplistic personifications. They represented nuanced understandings of natural forces and human experiences. This deep integration of animals highlights a worldview with no strict separation between sacred and mundane, humanity and animal kingdom. Every creature held a place in the cosmic order, their essence a reflection of divine principles. It fostered a society with profound respect for the inherent divinity within animals. This ancient perspective offers a captivating contrast to modern sensibilities, inviting us to consider a world where every rustle in the reeds, every shadow, every creature's gaze held a potential message from the divine. It's a reminder that truly understanding a culture means seeing the world through their eyes, where even a simple animal could be a living bridge to the eternal, certainly more interesting than watching cat videos on repeat. As we continue our tranquil journey through the intricate tapestry of ancient Egyptian beliefs, we arrive at a figure who stood as the very cornerstone of their cosmos, the pharaoh. To us, a king is a political leader subject to elections or public opinion. But for the Egyptians, the pharaoh was infinitely more profound, embodying a unique duality blending human with divine. He was not merely a ruler. He was a living god, the terrestrial manifestation of Horus, son of Ra. This wasn't merely a flattering title. It was a deeply held belief. The pharaoh was the direct, tangible link between earthly and divine realms, through whom cosmic order, or Ma'at, was maintained. Essentially, the pharaoh was the ultimate cosmic CEO, responsible for the entire operation, which probably made annual reviews a bit awkward. Ma'at herself was a concept far grander than our simple notions of justice or truth. She was the personification of cosmic harmony, balance, order, and righteousness, the fundamental principle governing the universe from its creation. Ma'at dictated the Nile's regular flooding, the sun's rising, predictable seasons, and the land's prosperity. When Ma'at was upheld, the world thrived. When disturbed, chaos, Isfit, threatened. And it was the pharaoh, and he alone, who was primarily responsible for upholding Ma'at. His very existence, every ritual, every decree, was an act to sustain this delicate cosmic balance, ensuring blessings from gods to land, preventing chaos. No pressure, right? Just keep the universe running smoothly, literally. This belief bestowed upon the pharaoh an immense, almost unfathomable responsibility, far beyond mere governance. He was the chief priest, performing sacred rituals. He was the supreme commander, protecting Egypt, for an invasion was seen as an assault on Ma'at itself. He was the grand architect, commissioning colossal temples and monuments not just as expressions of power, but as earthly homes for gods and conduits for divine energy. Every abundant harvest, every healthy newborn, every victorious battle was a direct result of the pharaoh's success in maintaining Ma'at. Imagine having that on your daily to-do list. It makes responding to emails seem rather trivial by comparison. Yet, despite this awe-inspiring godlike status, pharaohs were still, in their quiet moments, very much human. They got sick, worried about rebellions, faced famines, and certainly had their share of familial dramas and political intrigues, much like any other human ruler. Historical records reveal pharaohs complaining about lazy officials, agonizing over military campaigns, or worrying about their cattle. One particular letter from a pharaoh to his vizier chastised him for not getting a particular canal dredged, a truly divine complaint if there ever was one. They were celebrated as divine beings, but in solitude, they managed vast bureaucracies, dealt with human shortcomings, and grappled with the same anxieties as leaders throughout history. This duality, this constant tightrope walk between divine ideal and human reality, is a fascinating aspect, proving that even cosmic executives have to deal with operational details. The concept of the pharaoh as a living god also meant his succession was paramount. The transfer of power was not just political, it was cosmic, ensuring the unbroken lineage of Horus on Earth. The death of a pharaoh was a moment of profound spiritual crisis, a temporary disruption of Ma'at, until the new Horus ascended and re-established order. The elaborate funerary rituals, vast tombs, and meticulous preparations for the pharaoh's afterlife were designed not just for his personal journey, but to ensure his continued ability to intercede with the gods from the divine realm, perpetually maintaining cosmic balance. It was a posthumous job, but someone had to do it. This unique intersection of divine rule and human leadership gave ancient Egypt its remarkable stability and longevity. For millennia, the belief in the pharaoh as the living embodiment of Ma'at provided a central organizing principle, unifying society. Every individual's role contributed to the grand cosmic project of upholding Ma'at under their god-king. It's a testament to the power of a shared belief system, a quiet, pervasive understanding that everyone played a part in maintaining the harmony of their world, ensuring the sun would rise, the Nile would flood, and life would continue, always. This complex tapestry whispers to us about the profound human need for order, purpose, and a guiding presence, even in the vast expanse of the cosmos. Now, let us quietly journey into perhaps the most defining, and certainly the most elaborate, facet of ancient Egyptian belief, the afterlife. For them, death was not an end, a sudden cessation of being, but merely a profound, meticulously planned transition, a monumental passage from one form of existence to another. It was a grand, complex journey through the Duat, their intricate underworld, leading ultimately, for the worthy, to the serene abundance of the field of reeds. This wasn't some ethereal, cloud-bound heaven, but a paradise remarkably, and quite comfortingly, similar to a perfectly irrigated, bountiful Nile delta where effortless labor brought forth endless harvests. But this wasn't a casual stroll into eternity. It was a demanding, bureaucratic, and often perilous passage, requiring meticulous preparation, precise knowledge, and no small amount of spiritual courage. One might say they were the original extreme planners, with their eternal vacation itinerary mapped out down to the very last detail, even the snacks for the journey. Enter mummification, a process that, while perhaps not the most visually appealing or fragrant to our modern sensibilities, was an act of profound devotion, impressive anatomical ingenuity, and deep spiritual necessity. It wasn't about preserving a body for morbid curiosity or simply to defy decay. It was about ensuring the Ka, the vital life force or spiritual double, needing a physical anchor to return to, and the Ba, the personality soul, capable of leaving the tomb and traveling during the day, had a permanent, identifiable home. Imagine the ancient equivalent of a packing list for an eternal vacation, except this one was rather more intricate. All right, got my heart jar. Check. Brain. Well, we meticulously removed that through the nose, as it wasn't deemed essential for the afterlife, apparently good. Canopic jars for the rest of the squishy bits. The lungs, liver, stomach, intestines, each protected by a specific god, double-check. Now, where's my Book of the Dead? That vital GPS for the treacherous path ahead. The process itself, often lasting a precise 70 days, involved an almost artisanal precision. Internal cleansing, dehydrating the body with natron salt, anointing it with precious oils and resins, and meticulously wrapping it in hundreds of yards of pristine linen bandages, often interspersed with layers of protective amulets and powerful spells. Each step was accompanied by specific prayers and rituals, transforming a biological process into a sacred art, a profound act of transfiguration. The Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and incantations, wasn't a static Bible or a universal scripture. Rather, it was a highly personalized, often custom-made, travel guide for the deceased soul, filled with essential instructions to navigate the trials and tribulations of the underworld. Imagine trying to get through modern airport security without your passport. Only the stakes are infinitely higher, and the security guards are terrifying demonic entities with rather specific questions. This book provided the essential passwords, cheat codes, magical incantations, and escape routes to overcome hungry demons, avoid treacherous traps, answer riddles posed by divine gatekeepers, and ultimately, to declare one's purity before the gods. Each spell was designed to ensure that the deceased retained control over their body, their identity, and their destiny in the afterlife, ensuring they wouldn't, say, accidentally turn into a donkey or be forced to eat their own excrement. A genuinely concerning outcome for the ancients, according to some texts. It was a testament to their belief that knowledge and the correct utterance of powerful words held immense magical power, capable of influencing the divine realm itself and guaranteeing a smooth, safe passage. And then, the ultimate, most anxiety-inducing test, the weighing of the heart. This pivotal moment, often vividly depicted on papyri and tomb walls, occurred in the Hall of Two Truths, presided over by Osiris, the majestic, green-skinned lord of the underworld, and a formidable jury of 42 divine assessors. Here, your heart, considered the seat of conscience, intellect, and memory, was carefully balanced on a great scale against the single, delicate feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic order. A feather. Talk about a lightweight judge for a heavy burden of human experience. If your heart was heavy with misdeeds, deceit, spiritual imbalance, or unconfessed wrongs from your earthly life, the scale would tip unfavorably. And waiting patiently at the side, a creature designed to strike primal fear into the hearts of mortals, was Ammit, the devourer of the dead. A charming composite of crocodile, lion, and hippopotamus, Ammit was ready to instantly consume the unworthy heart, condemning the soul to eternal non-existence, the ultimate damnation for a people who craved continuity above all else. It brings a whole new, terrifying meaning to living a light life, doesn't it? A quiet, gentle, yet utterly profound reminder that actions and ethical conduct in life carried an immeasurable eternal weight. The emphasis on this judgment was not about sin in the Abrahamic sense, but about maintaining Ma'at throughout one's life. The deceased would recite the negative confession, declaring they had not committed a long list of transgressions. I have not stolen. I have not caused pain. I have not killed. This wasn't necessarily a literal confession, but a ritual affirmation of their alignment with cosmic order, a plea of innocence, and a demonstration of their knowledge of Ma'at's principles. It highlights a remarkably sophisticated ethical system, where individual conduct directly impacted one's eternal fate. The goal was to pass this test, to be declared true of voice or justified, and thus granted passage to the field of reeds, their blissful paradise. The field of reeds itself was not a static, passive heaven. It was envisioned as a vibrant, productive landscape, mirroring the idealized version of the Nile Valley, abundant with fertile fields, flowing canals, and endless harvests. The deceased would continue to work, to sow and reap, but effortlessly, without hardship, their crops always abundant. They would live eternally with their loved ones, enjoy delicious food, and bask in perpetual sunshine. To ensure this work was effortless, Egyptians often included shabdi dolls in their tombs, small figurines enchanted to come alive and perform any required labor in the afterlife. Imagine the ultimate labor-saving device, ensuring your eternal retirement was truly work-free. It perfectly encapsulates their desire for an afterlife that was both familiar and infinitely better than earthly toil. This meticulous planning, this deeply ingrained belief in a vibrant continuity beyond death, provided immense comfort and purpose to their lives. It transformed the terrifying unknown into a diligently prepared journey, allowing them to live their earthly days with a serene certainty of their eternal future, a gentle whisper that even beyond life's end, order, purpose, and familiar joys await. As our quiet journey through ancient Egyptian beliefs continues, we turn our gaze from the grand cosmic forces and the majestic rulers to the very heart of their daily spiritual life, the temples and the rituals that permeated existence. For the Egyptians, a temple wasn't merely a place of congregation or a quiet space for personal reflection, as we might conceive of a church or synagogue today. No, an Egyptian temple was quite literally considered the house of the god, a divine residence built on earthly soil, a sacred conduit where the divine presence could manifest and interact with the human realm. Imagine building a mansion for a deity, complete with all the amenities, though perhaps a bit heavy on the monumental stone and lacking in modern plumbing. Within these massive stone edifices, the daily routine revolved not around sermons or communal worship for the general populace, but around the meticulous care and veneration of the deity's cult image, a statue, usually made of precious materials, housed in the innermost sanctuary. This statue was believed to be more than just a representation. It was the physical embodiment, the very essence of the god or goddess. The priests, therefore, weren't primarily spiritual guides for the common people. They were the personal attendants, the dedicated housekeepers and valets for the gods themselves. Their day began before dawn, with elaborate purification rituals, before they even dared to enter the god's presence. One can almost picture them meticulously checking off their divine to-do list. Right, bath for Osiris, fresh linen for Isis, and don't forget to offer Ra his morning coffee. Or, well, wine and incense. The daily ritual for the cult image was incredibly intimate and precise. It involved opening the shrine, purifying the sanctuary with incense, dressing the statue in fine linens and jewels, anointing it with fragrant oils, and presenting it with lavish offerings of food, drink, and flowers. These offerings weren't just symbolic. They were believed to physically sustain the god, providing the divine energy needed to perform their cosmic duties, ensuring the sun rose, the Nile flooded, and Ma'at prevailed. After the god had, presumably, partaken of the spiritual essence of the meal, the physical offerings were then consumed by the priests and temple staff, a rather convenient arrangement that combined piety with a very practical food distribution system. It was a symbiotic relationship. Humans cared for the gods, and in return, the gods ensured the well-being of Egypt. A rather efficient, if somewhat high-maintenance, divine partnership. While the inner sanctums of these temples were largely restricted to priests and the Pharaoh, the public spiritual life was far from neglected. Grand festivals and processions, often stretching for days or even weeks, provided the main opportunity for direct interaction between the gods and the populace. During these vibrant celebrations, the cult image of the god, often placed within a portable bark shrine, would be carried out of the temple in a magnificent procession, allowing the people to glimpse their deity, offer prayers, and seek oracles. Imagine the excitement. The throng of people gathered along the Nile, cheering as their beloved local god, perhaps looking a bit dusty from being in storage, made its annual public appearance. These were moments of immense communal joy, piety, and direct connection, where the divine truly walked among men, or at least was carried among them by a dedicated team of priests. Beyond these grand public spectacles, individual piety was also deeply woven into the fabric of daily life. Egyptians carried amulets, small charms believed to imbue the wearer with protective power or bring good fortune. These could range from simple scarabs for rebirth and protection to ankhs for life or ujjat eyes for healing. They weren't just fashionable accessories. They were tangible expressions of faith, constant reminders of divine presence and intervention. People would also set up small shrines in their homes dedicated to specific household deities, like Tarit, the hippopotamus goddess of childbirth, or Bes, the dwarf god of music, dance, and protection against evil, who looked rather comical but was fiercely protective. This allowed for a more personal, intimate form of worship, where daily prayers and humble offerings were made, often without the need for priestly mediation. It was like having a direct line to the gods, no appointment necessary. The concept of effective offerings was also key. It wasn't just about giving. It was about the intention and the proper execution of the ritual. The offerings were meant to activate the god's power, to ensure reciprocity. This created a profound sense of agency for the Egyptians. By performing their duties, both secular and religious, they actively participated in the maintenance of cosmic order. It imbued their daily lives with purpose, knowing that their actions, however small, contributed to the grand divine machine. So, whether it was a priest carefully anointing a god statue, a farmer dedicating a portion of his harvest, or a mother wearing an amulet for her child's safety, every act of devotion, every quiet prayer, was a thread in the vast, intricate tapestry of their spiritual world. It tells us that ancient Egyptian religion was less about blind faith and more about a practical, reciprocal partnership with the divine, a constant, respectful dialogue to ensure the smooth running of the universe. And who wouldn't want that kind of dependable service from their deities? As our quiet journey continues through the ancient Egyptian landscape of belief, we arrive at a concept that often sparks curiosity, sometimes misunderstanding: magic. For us, magic might conjure images of staged tricks or fantasy spells. But for the Egyptians, magic, or Heka, was something profoundly different. It wasn't about deception or supernatural trickery. It was understood as a fundamental, divine force, an inherent power that permeated the entire cosmos, as essential as the very air they breathed. In many ways, Heka was simply the activation of cosmic order, a principle as foundational as Ma'at herself. It was the creative energy used by the gods to bring the world into being, and it was accessible to humans to influence, protect, and restore balance to their lives. One could say it was their original operating system, the underlying code of reality. This meant that Heka was deeply, intricately woven into every aspect of daily life, indistinguishable from religion, medicine, or even law. It wasn't relegated to secret covens or shadowed corners. It was practiced openly, consciously, by kings and commoners alike. Priests specialized in Heka, acting as its custodians and practitioners within temple contexts, but its principles and applications were broad. The power of Heka could be harnessed through specific rituals, through the recitation of potent spells and divine names, through specific gestures, and most visibly, through the use of an astounding array of amulets and charms. It was less about pulling rabbits from hats and more about ensuring your crops grew, your children were healthy, and your journey through the underworld was smooth. A rather practical approach to cosmic influence, wouldn't you agree? Consider the ubiquitous use of amulets. These weren't mere trinkets. They were miniature reservoirs of Heka, worn for protection, luck, or specific purposes. The ankh, symbolizing life, was as common as a modern good luck charm, perhaps even more so, given its divine backing. The Ujjat Eye of Horus protected against evil and brought healing, almost like an ancient divine security camera. Scarabs ensured rebirth and protection in the afterlife, a charming beetle holding the power of eternal renewal. Children wore specific amulets to ward off illness and evil spirits, presumably because ancient Egyptian childcare didn't come with childproof locks. Soldiers wore charms for bravery and victory. Every home likely contained objects imbued with Heka, a painted door frame, a specially carved household deity, or a linen not tied with intent. These items served as constant, tangible reminders of the ever-present magical protection available in a world they believed was teeming with unseen forces, both benevolent and malevolent. The power of words was also central to Heka. The ancient Egyptians believed that speaking a spell, reciting a divine name, or uttering a protective phrase could directly activate Heka, bringing about a desired outcome. This wasn't just about belief. It was about the inherent power embedded in the very sounds and structures of the divine language. The meticulous copying of texts for the Book of the Dead, for example, wasn't just record-keeping. It was an act of imbuing the papyrus with protective Heka through the written word itself. A simple curse, or even an ill-willed whisper, was taken seriously because the word, once spoken, carried inherent power. This probably made ancient Egyptian gossip circles significantly more high-stakes than ours. In practical terms, Heka was employed for a vast range of everyday concerns. It was used in medicine, with spells recited over remedies to enhance their healing properties. It was used in childbirth, with specific charms and incantations to ensure a safe delivery for both mother and child, a rather more mystical form of prenatal care. Farmers used it to protect their crops from pests and ensure a bountiful harvest, perhaps by whispering sweet nothings to their wheat fields. Travelers invoked Heka to guard against dangerous animals or bandits. Even legal proceedings might involve elements of Heka to ensure truth was revealed. This pervasive integration meant that magic wasn't an obscure art, but a vital, practical tool, a fundamental component of problem-solving in their world. So, when we consider ancient Egyptian magic, it's less about fantastical feats and more about a profound understanding of a cosmic force, a systematic approach to influencing reality. It was their science, their medicine, their security system, and their spiritual toolkit all rolled into one. It tells us that they saw themselves as active participants in the cosmic drama, capable of harnessing divine power to maintain order, ensure prosperity, and navigate the journey of life and death. It offers a glimpse into a world where the veil between the mundane and the miraculous was thin, a world where every breath, every word, every carefully chosen amulet was imbued with the potential for profound influence, a quiet hum of power that permeated everything, right down to the last gentle whisper. Our quiet journey through the ancient Egyptian world now leads us to their most enduring legacy, the colossal, awe-inspiring monuments that punctuate the landscape, the pyramids, temples, and tombs. These weren't merely feats of engineering or displays of royal power. They were profound statements of belief, tangible manifestations of their cosmic understanding, built to defy time and bridge the gap between the earthly and the divine. In a world without skyscrapers or satellite dishes, these structures literally touched the heavens and rooted their civilization in eternity, often constructed with a precision that still baffles modern engineers, prompting the occasional wry joke about alien assistance. The pyramids, particularly those of Giza, stand as the most iconic testament to this eternal ambition. Far from being simple tombs, they were complex resurrection machines, designed to facilitate the pharaoh's journey into the afterlife and ensure his eternal presence amongst the gods, thereby guaranteeing the stability of Egypt. Imagine the sheer dedication, generations of labor, millions of massive stone blocks, all moved and placed with meticulous care, not with modern cranes, but with human ingenuity, ramps, and a belief system so strong it could literally move mountains, or at least massive blocks of quarried stone. It makes our modern project deadlines look rather quaint, doesn't it? The construction wasn't just physical work. It was a sacred act, a collective participation in the Pharaoh's eternal destiny and, by extension, the well-being of the entire land. Beyond the pyramids, the great temples along the Nile, such as Karnak, Luxor, and Abu Simbel, were breathtakingly elaborate houses of the gods, as we discussed. These weren't built for communal worship in the modern sense, but as grand cosmic engines, meticulously aligned with celestial events, adorned with hieroglyphs that were essentially elaborate divine instruction manuals and historical records. Walking through their hypostyle halls, with forests of towering columns reaching for the sky, was meant to evoke a sense of awe, to remind visitors of the immense power of the deities they honored and the sheer scale of the cosmic order. These temples served as spiritual power plants, drawing divine energy from the cosmos and channeling it into Egypt, ensuring its prosperity. And given their sheer size and longevity, they were arguably the most successful ancient infrastructure projects in history. The tomb, whether a royal pyramid, a rock-cut tomb in the Valley of the Kings, or a modest mastaba for a commoner, was perhaps the most personal and vital of all monuments. It was not a place of final rest in the sense of cessation, but a carefully prepared eternal home, designed to house the deceased's body for the Ka and facilitate the Ba's journey, ensuring eternal life. The walls were often covered in vibrant paintings and detailed reliefs depicting scenes of daily life, offerings, and the arduous journey through the underworld. These weren't just decorative. They were functional spells, ensuring the deceased would enjoy a perfect, perpetual existence, filled with all the comforts and joys they knew on earth, even if the eternal real estate market might have seemed a bit crowded at times. The Egyptians essentially built their forever homes before they moved in, a truly forward-thinking approach to retirement planning. Even seemingly secular structures, like obelisks, were imbued with deep religious meaning. These towering, needle-like stone pillars, often capped with gold or electrum, were erected to honor the sun god Ra, symbolizing the primeval mound from which creation emerged and acting as petrified rays of the sun. Their sharp points reached towards the heavens, drawing down the sun's divine energy and broadcasting the pharaoh's piety across the land. They were the ultimate ancient divine antennas, silently broadcasting cosmic blessings. The construction of these monuments speaks volumes about the Egyptian worldview. It reflects an unwavering belief in eternity, a profound respect for the divine, and an astonishing capacity for collective effort driven by shared spiritual conviction. Every stone placed, every hieroglyph carved, every painting rendered, was an act of piety, a contribution to maintaining Ma'at and securing immortality for the individual and the nation. It suggests a society that, despite its challenges, found deep meaning and purpose in the monumental, in building for a future that stretched far beyond human lifespans. This quiet, persistent ambition to create something eternal, something that would resonate with the divine for all time, continues to whisper its story across the millennia, reminding us of the enduring human desire to leave a mark, to connect with the infinite, and perhaps to build something truly spectacular that outlasts even our best intentions. They certainly nailed the build it to last philosophy. The journey through the profound beliefs of ancient Egypt approaches its horizon. It's worth pausing to consider something remarkable: the immense, often subtle, ripples this civilization sent across the vast ocean of history. Though their empire eventually faded, and the daily rituals in their temples ceased, the wisdom, artistry, and unique worldview of the Egyptians didn't simply vanish with the desert winds. Instead, they echoed, sometimes loudly, sometimes as faint whispers, influencing subsequent civilizations in ways we might not always immediately recognize. They were, in many respects, the original cultural trendsetters of the ancient world. The Greeks, for instance, those great philosophers and innovators, were deeply fascinated by Egypt. Many prominent Greek thinkers, from Herodotus to Pythagoras, traveled to the land of the Nile, seeking knowledge. They marveled at Egyptian mathematics, astronomy, and medical practices, often describing Egypt as the fount of wisdom. One can almost picture a bewildered Greek scholar trying to reconcile their logical geometries with the Egyptians' more magical approach to engineering colossal stone structures. While the Greeks preferred reasoned debate, they couldn't help but be impressed by a civilization that had been meticulously observing the stars and performing complex surgeries for millennia before their own intellectual awakening. It's safe to say they took more than just souvenirs home. Later, the mighty Romans, after conquering Egypt, developed a curious blend of admiration and appropriation. They might have taken Egypt's wealth, but they also took its gods. The cults of Isis and Osiris, with their compelling narratives of death and resurrection, spread throughout the Roman Empire, finding devotees from distant legions to the heart of Rome itself. Obelisks, symbols of Egyptian solar worship, were meticulously transported from their original sites along the Nile to stand proudly in Roman forums, quite literally bringing a piece of Egypt to Rome. It was the ultimate cultural remix, where Roman pragmatism met Egyptian mysticism, leading to some truly magnificent, if sometimes spiritually contradictory, temples in places like Pompeii. Beyond direct religious or architectural borrowing, ancient Egyptian ideas subtly shaped philosophical thought. The concept of Ma'at, with its emphasis on truth, balance, and cosmic order, found echoes in later ethical systems, even if its divine origins were stripped away. Their meticulous record-keeping and highly organized bureaucracy, initially developed to manage the Nile's floods and the Pharaoh's grand projects, laid groundwork for administrative practices that influenced governance for centuries. You could argue that the concept of paperwork, in all its tedious glory, has some very ancient Egyptian roots. Even today, the echoes of Egypt are everywhere. From the design of our dollar bill, with its pyramid and eye, arguably in homage to ancient symbols, to the widespread use of Ankh symbols in fashion and jewelry, Egyptian motifs persist in our collective consciousness. Hollywood, of course, has ensured that mummies are eternally misunderstood creatures prone to chasing archaeologists, which is a rather dramatic departure from their original purpose of facilitating a peaceful afterlife. This enduring fascination speaks to the timeless allure of their mysteries, their ambition for eternity, and their unique way of intertwining the sacred with the everyday. Ancient Egypt, therefore, isn't just a chapter in a history book. It's a foundational text in humanity's ongoing story. Its profound understanding of the natural world, its innovative approach to life and death, and its unwavering pursuit of cosmic balance left an indelible mark. The whispers of their wisdom continue to drift across the sands of time, gently reminding us that even the most ancient beliefs can offer fresh perspectives on our modern lives, inviting us to look for balance, embrace cycles, and perhaps take a moment to marvel at the enduring legacy of a civilization that built for eternity, one carefully placed stone and beautifully carved hieroglyph at a time. Their quiet power still resonates, encouraging us to consider the timeless questions they sought to answer, and to perhaps find our own sense of order in the grand, unfolding story of existence. The sun-drenched sands of ancient Egypt now draws to its peaceful close. We find ourselves standing at the edge of a vast, silent landscape, reflecting not just on the stories we've shared, but on the profound echoes they leave behind. We ventured into a world where the Nile was a pulsating heart, and the sun a daily miracle, where gods wore animal heads with surprising grace, and where the line between the sacred and the mundane was wonderfully, intricately blurred. We've seen how a civilization built on the bedrock of cosmic order, or Ma'at, meticulously planned for eternity, transforming death from a dreaded end into a grand, bureaucratic, and occasionally amusing journey. This exploration has revealed a people deeply connected to their environment, understanding that their very survival depended on a harmonious relationship with powerful natural forces. They built monuments not just for power, but for eternity, creating structures that literally touched the heavens and housed their beliefs in stone. They embraced magic, not as a parlor trick, but as Heka, a fundamental force of the universe, a practical tool to navigate life's many challenges, from warding off bad dreams to ensuring a successful harvest. It's truly fascinating to consider a society where your daily commute to the afterlife involved a literal guidebook of spells, just in case you encountered any cosmic traffic jams. What whispers most clearly across the millennia from ancient Egypt is a profound sense of purpose and a meticulous dedication to balance. Their pursuit of Ma'at wasn't merely a philosophical ideal. It was a daily practice, shaping their ethics, their art, and their very social structure. It reminds us that finding harmony within ourselves and with the world around us is a timeless human quest, as relevant today as it was when the first Pharaoh raised his hand to the sky. Their acceptance of life's relentless cycles, of floods and droughts, of sun and shadow, of birth and transformation, offered a comforting sense of order in a universe that often feels chaotic. They taught us, in their quiet way, that even in the face of the unknown, meticulous preparation and an unwavering belief in continuity can bring immense peace. Perhaps the most enduring legacy of this ancient civilization isn't found just in the colossal pyramids or the gleaming treasures of a pharaoh's tomb. It resides in the very human desire for meaning, for connection, and for a place in the grand cosmic narrative. The Egyptians, in their unique blend of pragmatism and poetry, found those answers. Their story, etched in hieroglyphs and whispered by the desert winds, invites us to pause, to breathe, and to consider the quiet wisdom that transcends time. It's a reminder that beneath the dust of history, the fundamental human spirit, in all its complexity and aspiration, remains remarkably constant. Thank you for spending this time with us, for listening, and for joining us on this historical adventure. We genuinely hope that by now, you've drifted off into a peaceful, restorative sleep, perhaps with dreams of colossal temples under starlit skies. If not, may your mind be calm and your body relaxed, ready to embrace the tranquility of the night. Good night.